Welcome to All Pro Football Data. My name is Jim Coburn, and today's episode we're talking about Bud Means based on his production, athleticism, and other statistical factors. So stay tuned until we get to the end of the video where we're going to reveal what he tested like as a prospect, what are some pro comparisons for him, and kind of get some good data all around. So thank you guys so much for joining me, and let's get to his data profile. So first off, in terms of his offensive market share production data, Bud Means had a 60 percentile in terms of his receiving market share production score, 69 percentile in terms of total offensive market share, and then 78 percentile in terms of touchdown market share. Those numbers are actually decent. His receiving market share needs some work, but those are definitely some decent numbers for him based on his data there. Now, when you get to his efficiency scores, this is where he also did well too. He essentially had a little bit above 70 percentile in terms of his yards per reception, and then he had almost, like I say, 65 percentile in terms of his touchdowns per touch rating. So these aren't elite efficiency scores, but they definitely are within the starter averages at the position, which is kind of what he kind of profiles as overall when you look at his data. Now, when you get to his athleticism testing, this is where he did exceptionally well. He had a 94 percentile explosion score and 93 percentile in terms of speed for his size. Those are fantastic numbers for him to hit. And in many ways, he's kind of like a mini version of Xavier Legette. So Xavier Legette was somebody who tested extremely well in terms of explosion and speed. Bud Means tested extremely well in terms of explosion and speed. It's just he's not quite as big as Xavier Legette is. So now, when you get to his adjusted production scores, based on adjusted production, he had a 27 percentile age score, 42 percentile in terms of his MSA rating, and then 66 percentile in terms of his pass rating. So it's essentially 67 percentile. But these numbers are not that great in terms of his adjusted production. And a lot of that has to do with his age. Again, his level of competition as well at Pittsburgh wasn't exactly elite. He wasn't playing at Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, places like that. So these are issues that kind of get into his profile or hurt things in terms of his projection is when it comes down to his adjusted production traits. Going to comparisons for him. So this is where the balloon gets a little deflated, okay? He did not test well in terms of players that are near him based on his data profile. So guys like Eric Thomas, Stephen Robinson, Nicholas Norris, Sam Aiken, Randy Vadaha are kind of guys who tested better than him and ended up becoming a starter. But for the most part, these are backups. So I think that's kind of what Bud Means is, despite the fact he has great athleticism, despite the fact his production is decent. His age kind of lowers his upside, guys, and it really hurts him, his overall profile. So he wasn't elite productive, and his age kind of really lowers him a lot because of that factor. So that's definitely an issue for him. Now, in terms of the outlook for Means, Means profiles as a backup to fringe Pro Bowler long term. Most wide receivers with this profile tend to be backups, but the athletic upside of Means should prove to be intriguing by many NFL teams. So what I'm saying is this. Bud Means tested like a backup, but based on his athleticism traits, he could become a fringe starter long term because of his athleticism traits. There's always going to be a chance that he could outperform his data because of his athleticism traits. It doesn't matter what position you're talking about, especially skill position players. If you have great athleticism traits, you could potentially go to, say, like the Kansas City Chiefs and develop into a decent wide receiver. Does that happen consistently all the time? No, but it happens sometimes. So that's kind of the positive things that you're looking at with Means. And I would say if Means does go to the Kansas City Chiefs, then I think you should be mildly excited. I wouldn't get too excited, but mildly excited with him based on those parameters there. But with all that stuff out of the way, here's some videos for you guys to watch next. Also, thank you guys for watching. Check out my Patreon page, patreon.com/jcoburn. Also, check out my Twitter @Geometrics, also known as X nowadays. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Peace.